Hi guys, and welcome back to Jedi Mantis Tastes, the series in which I go through a selection of whiskies and taste them, give you a bit of information about the whiskies themselves, maybe give you a bit more information that might help you purchase them if you're looking to buy something. The whiskey that we have today on our second episode is from one of my favourite distilleries, Glenfiddich, and it is the Glenfiddich Experiment Malt IPA. This is something that they've just released alongside another one, but I haven't found the other one. This is the only one I've got. Before we get on to the tasting, and this is one I have tried this before. You might be able to see when I get the bottle out that I've nearly finished it. But I'm going to do the tasting. But I also want to give a little bit of the backstory to Glenfiddich themselves. It's quite a rich history that they have. So going straight into that, the distillery itself was founded by William Grant in 1887. It is a Speyside malt, so same region as the whiskey we tried in the first episode. It was in the summer of 1886 that the distillery was built by hand by William Grant along with his 7 sons and 2 daughters, and also a single stonemason. And it only took them a single year. And William Grant named the distillery Glenfiddich, which is the Gaelic word for Valley of the Deer. Hence, on the logo of Glenfiddich, you have the stag, the deer. It's one of the few single malt distilleries that has remained entirely family owned. So that is a good good clue as to how well they've been run. And it is now the world's most awarded single malt Scotch whisky. Going through the history, as I say, 1886 was when it was built, but it was founded in 1887. In 1923, it was one of only 6 distilleries still operating in Scotland, and this was due to Prohibition that had swept the land. So only 6 distilleries in Scotland were still operating in 1923. So again, just shows how big they were, how much. I believe it was one of his grandsons came in and actually increased whiskey production instead of standing him back, because I guess he had the forefront to know that coming out of Prohibition, because you could tell that wasn't going to be something that would be around forever, but would know that whiskey would be on the rise again coming out of Prohibition. So he made the business even more successful. Going forward, 1961 is when, and I'll get the bottle out at this point, just so you can see, because the Glenfiddich bottle, if I hold it this way, you can see is a triangular shaped bottle. And this was designed by an influential designer of the 20th century, Hans Schläger. I'm not sure of how to pronounce his name. And it is to represent the trinity of water, air, and malted barley, which are the 3 ingredients that are expertly crafted to make a Glenfiddich whisky. So hence the 3-sided bottle. It's quite a unique bottle design. Something I've always noticed about the Glenfiddichs is the triangular shaped bottle. So going forward again then to 1963, William Grant's great grandson Sandy Grant Gordon makes Glenfiddich the first single malt to be actively promoted outside of Scotland. So before then, the rest of the world was used to a blended malt, but Sandy Grant Gordon decided that he was so proud of their creation that he would promote it outside of Scotland, something that had never been done before. It was a secret to be held in Scotland, was the single malt, but Sandy Grant Gordon pushed that to the rest of the world, and if it wasn't for something like that happening, we might never be tasting this without going to Scotland for it. 1991, big jump forward, Glenfiddich released their 50-year-old single malt, and this was produced from 9 casks that were laid down the 1930s, and that 9 casks to honour his 9 children. So he had, as I say, he had 7 sons, 2 daughters, and they helped actually build it by hand, the distillery. So 9 casks laid down in the 1930s, and then sort of like turned into the 50-year-old whiskey that was first released in 1991. Jumping forward then to 2001, the oldest single malt is released, so even older than the 50-year-old, and this was released from cask 843 or 843, however you want to say that, and that was filled in 1937. So 64 years later, after that cask had been watched over by 10 consecutive warehouse masters within the distillery itself. And of course, a common thing for whiskey is the angels took their share, and that is the name for the amount that is lost due to evaporation of them being in the cask. So after that, there was only 61 bottles of this very rare whiskey left in 2001. 64 years. That is a long time to hold on to a whiskey. In 2010, disaster struck in the distillery when, due to extreme snowfall, some of the warehouse roofs collapsed, which exposed the casks that were there maturing their whiskey within, were exposed to the winter sky and to the elements. The warehousemen worked around the clock in temperatures as low as minus 19 degrees Celsius to save them and to honour those men, and the work they'd done and the achievement they'd done. The malt master at the time used the rescued casks that they'd managed to save from the winter snow to create a whiskey called Snow Phoenix. It's a limited edition single malt, and they're proud to say it was born out of chance and adversity. Just looked that one up while I was researching my notes for this video, and it's not available in the UK, which did annoy me. It sounded like a very nice one to try. Maybe one day I will get a chance to try it. But so yeah, that was 2010. Very nearly destroyed everything, the snow. Jump forward to 2011, just a tiny little jump. So they released one honouring Scotland's oldest woman. The most expensive single malt is sold, and it's sold through auction. Janet Sheed Roberts is the last grandchild of William Grant, and only 11 bottles of the Janet Sheed Roberts Reserve are released, and they are all auctioned for charity. So they do give back. So that's just a brief history. If you go to Glenfiddich.com, you can look a little bit more. I haven't put everything in there, but that's where I got most of my information, or if not all my information. I use the Glenfiddich.com website. So that's just a bit, as I say, brief history of the actual distillery. As I say, it is one of my favourite sort of like distilleries, the Glenfiddich. If you go to Glenfiddich.com as well, they do have a selection of different tours that you can do around the distillery. You get to taste some of the whiskies at the end of it. There's a bar there, there's a restaurant, there's a gift shop. It'd be a really good day out if you like your whiskey. Hoping one day I will get there myself. So maybe I'll see you there. But yes, so on to the main event. I think let's get this bottle back out. I think you will agree, a lot of history for this distillery, going all the way back to 1886. Family owned all that time. Family owned, really unheard of, really, for a company to last that long and still be with the same family. So this is the bottle. We'll get a bit more light on the scene. So, got the bottle. I don't know if you can see, there's very small amount left in here. It is Glenfiddich Experimental Series number 1, single malt Scotch whiskey. It's 43% volume, and it is an IPA finish. So it's the first experiment of its kind, and the first time that whiskey has been paired with an IPA beer. And in order to create this, the distillery crafted 3 new beers, and then they were judged, and the winner of those 3 beers went on to go into the whiskey production, and it's been brewed in a bespoke IPA barrels, and it's imbued, it says, with unique zesty citrus notes of ripe green apple, Williams pear, and spring blossom, and then complemented by the subtle tang of hops. So if you like IPA and you fancy giving whiskey a go, this would be a perfect one. It's not the cheapest, but I do believe in cases like this, of course, you're going to get what you pay for. If you put more money into the whiskey you're buying, you're going to get a nicer whiskey. It's just simple as that. If you pay less, the whiskey's not going to be as nice. It might be a fine whiskey, but you get what you pay for. Nice top as well. You've got the Glenfiddich Stag on the top of the bottle, wooden top, and of course, like we said last time, corked, because a nice whiskey should of course be corked. You've got the badge there as well, established 1887. We've just gone over all that. So we've got our Glencairn glass. So we're going to pour a little bit in here, and I am only going to have a little bit, because I am trying to keep. So a lot less than I had last time. I'm trying to keep as much of this as I can for New Year. This is the one I want to share with my family when they come round for New Year. I'm going to give them a little taste, probably finish that bottle off. So that's why I'm only pouring myself a tiny amount, just enough to taste. Because as I say, I have had this before, so I don't need, and it is early in the day. So we've got the whiskey in there. You can see a lot lighter than the frisky whiskey of last time. Start swirling this round. So it's a nice, it's a very rich gold colour, this one. Lighter than the frisky whiskey, but still golden. Still, you can see it's a nice whiskey looking at it. So we'll go in with the nose. I do get that hops. You certainly can smell the hops of a beer in there. And it is quite floral, so the blossom is coming through. Another bit of a swirl around. Get the aromas flowing. I can smell the fruit, but I couldn't. My nose, I guess, isn't as adept at the moment. I can smell fruit, but I wouldn't have been able to identify it as green apple and Williams pear. But you can smell that there is a fruity hint to it. It's very nice. So we'll have a bit of a taste. It is a little strong, not anywhere near as strong as the last whiskey. It's very smooth when it's in the mouth, very smooth on the tongue. But you get that nice sort of warming, not quite a burn, but a warming sensation going up from the base of the tongue into the top of the mouth. It's very punchy. It's very punchy. Getting those citrus flavours in there. Very smooth going down, and it's the after kick that has that little burn on it. Beautiful whiskey, absolutely beautiful. And you do you do get that IPA finish through it, all the way through. There's the hops. The hops are there. You can smell them. You can taste them. They linger afterwards, like just a little sort of like hint of hops left behind. It's very sweet for a whiskey as well. So very, very nice whiskey. So that is the IPA. Take it out again so you can see the bottle. Yeah, I really like a Glenfiddich bottle. It just feels nice to hold. That triangular shape makes it quite ergonomic. Not much left in there. I'm going to have a bit more. I'm going to have a wee drop more, because it is very nice. I like that that after note. Just a tiny little bit. Just a little bit more. There's still enough in there for the family. But yeah, such a nice whiskey. I really, really do recommend this one. The last whiskey, the Frisky whiskey, is a very nice whiskey, but this is another level. This really is. It's a top whiskey, and I would say an experiment, a successful one. Definitely a successful experiment. They've done a very good job with that. Top notch. Really is a nice whiskey. And quite easy to obtain. You can get it from multiple sources. It is available on the whiskeyexchange.com. You can get it from glenfiddich.com. I bought it at Tesco's supermarket. You're looking sort of like £45 to £50 for the bottle. But considering how nice it is and how finely crafted it is, you're certainly getting your money's worth. Not a one to abuse, this one. This is a one. You just have the occasional glass. If you want a nice whiskey, you've had a hard day at work, you come home, you're exhausted, you're not driving the next day, have yourself a glass of IPA, Glenfiddich. It's gonna make you relax a lot quicker than without it. You're gonna just sink back in your chair and know that the day's been okay, and you're prepared for the next day. It is such a nice whiskey to have. As I say, in moderation. If you're drinking that every time you had a whiskey, you'd probably, as with any whiskey, you'd grow tired of it. But it would take a long time to reach that point. It is a finely crafted piece of workmanship in the distillery. So I've really enjoyed that one. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about the Glenfiddich Distillery. Hope you're tempted to give them a try. I'll post all the links to the different websites that you can buy it from that I've named, and along with the prices of them. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. Next time we could try one of these behind me here. I have been out and bought a few more whiskies specifically for this series, because it does seem to be getting a lot of love compared to my other videos. So I'm wanting to keep this going as quickly as I can for you. It will peter down. I will have to eventually go. I can't afford to do it weekly, so it will move to a monthly format. But while I've got the stock in the house, I will do these weekly, because they do seem to be getting the views ahead of my other videos. So I do thank you for that. Find me on Twitter at the Jedi Mantis. What I can start doing on there, if you start following me, I will do a weekly poll. Maybe choose three or four different whiskies out of the batches that I have. Put a poll up. You can vote on there. Ready to see. That'll be what I'll taste the next week. The winner of the poll. They'll all get tasted, but I'll let you guys decide what order by running the polls. So join me again next week for another whiskey tasting. I haven't decided what it is. I will put a poll up. If it gets some results, we'll go with that. If not, I'll just pick one. So thanks a lot again. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. If you've learned something new, hit that like button. Subscribe so that you always get these. These come out at the moment, I say weekly, but they will go to a less than weekly format. So hit the subscribe button and that little notification icon so that you always get the whiskey video when it comes out. And I will see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys, and have fun. Cheers.